Shalom, Israel. Brother Reggie Jr. here. So today, guys, I'm going to be reading Exodus chapter 23, just picking up where I left off from last time. And I actually don't have a lot of time today, so I'm going to try to explain as much as I can, as quick as I can, in a timely manner. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. Exodus 23 and verse 1. And the Lord says, "Thou shalt not raise a false report." Okay, and who are you not going to raise this false report against? Your fellow neighbor. You're not going to say that you seen them do something or involved in something that you know they weren't involved in. Why? Because you're lying. Okay, and that actually falls under, this actually falls under the banner of slander, because you're saying that you seen something that they were doing or they were involved in something that you know they weren't involved with. You're just straight lying on them. The Lord said, hey, don't do that. Why? Because those things cause strife. Because now you're going around raising these false reports about your neighbor, and people coming back and telling your neighbor, and your neighbor like, well, what the hell is going on? Well, yeah, such and such said you was doing this. He going around and saying that you was doing all of this and you was involved in that. And then guess what? Now you're tempting your neighbor to want to come over to where you are and busting you upside the head with a 2x4. See, the Lord got these laws in place not only to please him, but also to please your fellow man, to keep the peace, because these things causes war. Okay, and the Lord is trying to mitigate that as much as possible. That's why it's important that we follow these laws. That's why even in the United States, right, just where I live, because I can only speak for the country that I live in. That's why you see all of this fighting and shooting. You just see killing, heinous acts being committed. Why? Well, some of them come by way of that right there, a false report. People losing their life over nothing. Okay, and the Lord also says, put not thine hand with what? The wicked. Okay, you're not going to put your hand with the wicked to be a false witness. In other words, well, I'm going to go along with this wicked person that's raising these false reports because, see, I can get something out of it. Okay, there is something I can benefit from by being a false witness with this person. The Lord say, don't do it. Why? Because when I bring this judgment down on you, you gonna get some too for joining in. That's why the Lord tells you not to do it. But all of that aside, what we need to find out is, why would a person raise a false report against his fellow neighbor, his fellow man, his fellow woman? Why would someone do that? Why would somebody be an unrighteous witness to their fellow neighbor? Okay, let's go and figure that out. Because everybody gets stuck on the false witness, bearing false reports and all of that. But that's all fine and all. But what causes people to do these things? Okay, we need to get to the core of the problems. And we finna look at it right here. Proverbs chapter 10. And we are going to read verse 18. This is what causes it right here. It says, he or she, he that hideth what? Hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool. So raising a false report, being an unrighteous witness, where does that come from? What is that born out of? It's telling you right here. Hatred. Now, is this hatred visible towards the person's neighbor? No. Usually hatred is not visible. That's why the most important thing is that word before the hatred. And that's what? Hideth. He that hideth hatred. And where does a man or a woman hide that hatred? Up here. Because people, they'll smile. They'll laugh in your face. They'll encourage you. They'll shalom you, give you, they'll do everything right. Undetectable. Right? But in their mind, they hate you. And what is this hatred usually born out of? The hatred itself is usually born out of what? Envy, covetousness. And that was a big problem among Israel, especially back when we was in the land. Covetousness. You know, you may be mad at, you know, your fellow brother or sister because they were good looking. Maybe they were tall. Maybe they had a certain position in the land, or maybe they had some possessions that you wanted that you couldn't have. Maybe they were rich and wealthy, come from a line of wealthy ancestors, and you were mad because you didn't have as much wealth as them or something like that. Or maybe they just had an amazing personality and you didn't have an amazing personality. Maybe they were charismatic and people were drawn to them, and you seen that, and it made you angry. Why? Because you couldn't get that. And so guess what? That hatred, now it stirs up in your mind, and it causes you what? To move your hand against your neighbor. Do stuff like what? Bearing a false report against your neighbor. Being an unrighteous witness against your neighbor. It's all born out of hatred. And that's what, when Christ came, that's what he was trying to tell our people. You need to get your mind right. You need to learn. You need to love your brothers and sisters, okay? But that hatred, that's what it all stemmed from. And we even seen that when it came to Christ. Let's go real quick to Matthew 26. I got to remember, I can't stay all day. I got to keep it moving. Matthew 26. And I'm going to read verse, let's see, 59. Because they even did it to the Master. They did it to the Messiah, Christ. Jesus, they did it to him. Matthew 26 and 59. And it says, now the chief priests, okay, these are the leaders of the nation, the chief priests and the elders and all the council. So this is all the leadership of the southern kingdom, okay? It says they sought false what? Witness against Jesus, to put him to death. Why? Because they hated Jesus' guts. It was born out of what? Envy. It was so much envy that even Pilate, okay, a politician, a heathen, Pilate even said, he looked at everything that was going on. They crucified Jesus. Man, get him out of there. All of that stuff. And Pilate just sat back and looked and was like, he said, I know what this is, because I deal with this every day in my profession. This right here ain't nothing more than envy. And where is that envy born out of? Hatred. And that's why they sought false witness against Jesus. And that, brothers and sisters, is not loving your neighbor as you love yourself. Okay. Now let's go ahead and go back to Exodus 23, and then I'm going to read verse 2, and it says, thou shalt not follow in a multitude to do what? Evil. Okay. In other words, you're not going to do evil because everybody else is doing. That's what you see today in the world. Well, why did you do this? Well, because everybody else was doing it. Listen, God don't care. Look, back in the old world, right? Before our world right now, in the old world, which is Noah's world, they was doing all kind of evil, just about every man and woman. Okay, all doing evil, and no doubt the evil spread because, hey, everybody else doing evil. Why can't I do the evil? But you notice Noah and them didn't join that junk. Look, they may be doing all of this evil, but we gonna sit right here. We gonna serve God. We're gonna keep his commandments. And we're going to always be looking to please God, loving each other. But the rest of man, they had fell to the wayside, doing all kind of evil. So much evil, God had to send a flood to take them all away. It ain't no different from today. You got everybody doing evil, but you need to be like Noah. You got to be that one that's set apart. Hey, I know they all doing this, but I'm going to sit right here in my room and read God's word, staying in his face, meditating day and night on these principles that he had written in the Bible. See, But people don't do that. Well, he did it, so I'm going to do it too. Okay, well, when that judgment comes, just like that person going to get it, you going to get it too. So don't be surprised. So he says, thou shalt not follow a multitude, what? To do evil. Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many, to wrest, what? Judgment. Okay. Verse 3. And we're going to get more into that. But I want to say what I want to say a little bit later. Verse 3. Okay. He says, neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. Meaning you're not going to show favor to a poor man in his cause just because he's poor. So you're not, I'm going to automatically side with him because, see, he poor, he ain't really got nothing and stuff. The Lord expects you to keep judgment or should I say justice. He expects you to keep justice neutral. No matter if it's a rich man, no matter if it's a poor man, you're going to keep everything neutral. You're not going to show favor to one or the other. Let's go real quick to Leviticus 19 because the Lord tells us. Let's see if I can find Leviticus. Here we go. There we go. Leviticus 19. And I'm going to read. Let's see. I'm going to read verse 15. It says, ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Okay. Rich, poor, doesn't matter what position they have. If it's a family member, God don't care. You're going to keep it neutral. Thou shalt not respect the what? Person of the poor. Okay. Nor honor the person of the mighty. But what? In righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. Because you got poor folks too that be doing evil. And they think they can garner sympathy by being poor. The Lord say across the board, I want you to be neutral in how you handle situations. And see, Babylon don't do that. Babylon look at that rich man and say, oh, yeah, we going to let him off. Because, see, he rich. You know, he can kind of pay us a little money for helping him and stuff. Or sometimes it's the exact opposite. Nah, we not going to help this rich man because, you know, he got money and stuff like that. He don't deserve justice. He got money anyway. So, you know, anything that happened to him, that's what he get anyway. No, a rich person doesn't deserve to be done wrong either. Just because they have money. Wrong is wrong. Okay? Just like the poor. Oh, he poor, he ragged. He can't do nothing for us. So, you know, we not going to hear him out. We ain't going to try to, you know, help him because what we going to get out of helping him? No, the Lord said don't do that foolishness. Or the opposite. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He poor and stuff like that, you know. And you might like poor people, you know. You like seeing them get justice and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that you should turn things in a poor person's favor just because you personally like seeing the poor getting justice. No, if that poor person did something wrong, you got to get them. That's just the way it is. But we know Babylon doesn't operate like that. Okay. Verse 4. So back to Exodus 23, and I'm going to read verse 4. And the Lord says this, if thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. So you seeing them going astray, the Lord said, I expect you to grab the animal and bring them back to your neighbor. Not, oh, I can't stand that joke. Is that his ox leaving? Yeah, that's what he gets. Let his junk go away. Let it run away. I don't care. The Lord said don't do that kind of stuff. Okay? Don't render evil for evil. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 5. And see, this is the spirit of the law. You know, see, our people was worried about the letter of the law, but they didn't understand the spirit behind this law. So 1 Thessalonians, I hope I can find it. Jude, 2 Peter, Thessalonians is always something I can't find for whatever reason. Okay, here we go. 1 Thessalonians 5, and I'm going to read verse 15. And it says, see that none render evil for evil unto any man. Okay, this is talking about your brothers and your sisters, Israel. Don't render evil for evil. But ever follow that which is what? Good, both among yourselves and what? To all men. Don't render evil for evil, because nothing is going to get accomplished. The only thing that's going to happen is more strife is going to be stirred up. And then next thing you know, it's going to be a knockout, drag out, and then probably escalate further beyond that into somebody being murdered in cold blood. That's what the Lord is trying to avoid. Okay? Because before you know it, it'll be corruption all in the land. Just like you see now here in America, the death toll every single day is rising more and more and more. I know y'all see it more and more. Why? Because of stuff like that, rendering evil for evil. Because someone can't be the bigger man. Someone can't be the bigger woman and say, hey, you know what? This man want to act like this, or this woman want to behave in this manner. Hey, I'm going to just let it be, but I'm going to make sure I still do right by this person. People can't do that. Why? Because in order to do that, you have to take a temporary L. You got to take a temporary loss, and really it's not a loss, because the Lord is going to reward you for your behavior, for handling the situation correctly. But people don't want to feel like, oh, that person took advantage of me, or, oh, the person got over on me, or, oh, I look weak now in the eyes of everybody. No, people want to look tough, so they render evil for evil. I ain't going to let that joker show me that. I ain't going to let that joker show that he won. No, I'm going to get back. And Lord say don't do that, because all you're going to do is what? Cause that death toll to arise. But outside of all of that, why are we really not going to render evil for evil? Well, it's going to tell us here in Matthew. Matthew chapter 18. Matthew 18. And I'm going to read, let's see, verse 15. And it says, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, he commits some kind of evil against you, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. Okay? So you're not going to run around gossiping about what your brother did to you. Yeah, man, such and such, man, did this to me, man. I can't believe he did this to, or she did this to me. I can't believe it. You know what I'm saying? You telling everybody about what happened. And next thing you know, and what you may tell another person may be true in terms of, you know, what your brother did towards you. But you know people add to the story. Yeah, and he also said this happened to him as well. And next thing you know, the situation blew up into something that it shouldn't have even blown up into. Okay? So the Lord, that's what he's trying to avoid, conflict. That's what he's doing. Okay? But whatever happened between you and your brother or you and your sister, that needs to stay between y'all. Okay? Everybody else doesn't need to know about what happened. Says, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast what? Gained thy brother. Because that's what we're aiming to do. We're aiming to win our brothers and sisters. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to fight them, run them off, nothing like that. We're trying to gain our brothers and sisters. That's why people, when they act crazy towards me, whether it's an Israelite or a heathen, it don't matter. I let them do all the evil, but me, I conduct myself in a manner that's going to please God. Okay? And a lot of times, brothers and sisters, I have won over some Israelites and some heathens. All because how I handle myself. And they come back and say, you know what? Hey, Reggie, I just want to say, man, I apologize for how I conducted myself. And that was wrong. Believe it or not, I just got some bad news that other day when I reacted like that. And I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You know, whatnot. And I've even had just people that's just nasty in general. You know, and they just, you know, nasty to you or whatnot. But you don't give them the response that everybody else usually gives them. Because they used to a certain response. But when you don't give it to them, they get curious. Wow, Reggie didn't treat me like that. And next thing you know, you change this rude or nasty person's whole life around because of the way you acted. You know what? There are people out here that's patient and that's long suffering and that's compassionate. You know what I mean? And they changed their whole life all because of how you acted. See, that's what the Lord is trying to do. Now let's go back. Exodus 23, and I'm going to read verse 8, and it says, "And thou shalt take no gift." Oh, woo, I think I done skipped. Hold on. Okay, yeah, verse 5, excuse me. It says, "If thou seest the ass of him if thou seest the ass or the donkey of him that hateth thee, lying under his burden, and wouldest forbear to help him, thou shouldest surely help him." Meaning you're going to help your neighbor's ass. Help him. You see your neighbor's ass struggling. Okay, you're going to help him. All right. I don't care, because that ass right there belongs to my neighbor that I can't stand. So I'm going to just let whatever happen just happen. Lord said don't do this kind of stuff. Why? Because we're trying to win our brothers and sisters over. Verse 6. The Lord says, "Thou shalt not rest the judgment of the poor in his cause." Okay, so in this case, verse 6, okay, you're not going to not give the poor justice just because he's poor. Yeah, he poor, he don't deserve justice. He ain't got nothing anyway. Lord said don't do that. 7. He says, "Keep thee far from a" what? "A false matter." But you don't see that today, do you? A false matter come up with everybody do. Go running. Ooh, what's going on? What? Because what? Mankind loves folly. They live for it. That's what gives them life. It gives them energy. They live for a false matter. But when you go run into a false matter, guess what? You're going to get caught up in the same false matter that you ran to. Because guess what? When names start getting called out, they going to say your name because you was there. But they ain't going to say Reggie Jr. name. Why? Because I wasn't even there. I wasn't there when that false matter took place. I could be at lunch and people start talking evil. I get up and I sit somewhere else because my name ain't finna come up. And it says, "Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and the righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked." And what happened in the land of Israel when we was there? We were slaying the righteous left and right. It wasn't just the prophets, but it was those also that were unnamed. Unnamed righteous people. That name never made it into this book. They were also killed, which is why we are here today in captivity looking freaking stupid because we didn't do nothing God told us to do. Verse 8. "And thou shalt take no" what? "Gift. For the gift blindeth the wise, and perverteth the words of the righteous." In other words, the Lord said you ain't going to take no bribery, because we see that today. You know, a person clearly should get justice, but because the judge or whoever judging the matter is bribed, the justice get flipped and turned and it go a whole nother way. Right? Don't let nobody pay you under the table, because God don't let nobody pay him under the table. Your money don't mean nothing to God. Ain't nothing you can give God to bribe him. He owns everything, including you. And so we ought to mimic our God. We don't take no bribes, nothing. You see your neighbor doing wrong, doing evil, and your neighbor see that you seen him doing evil. He try to pay you off. Like, for instance, you see your next door neighbor, right? You know, it's a female, okay? Your next door neighbor, a female, and let's just say her husband go off to work, okay? And you as a man or woman see another man come, right? And go into this woman's house, okay? And you happen to just so happen to see another man, and you know it's not normal, come into this lady's house, and your neighbor somehow seen you see this man come in with her to do the do, okay? And this man leave and go off whatever, and she come over to your house. You open the door. Yeah, man, what's up? Look, I ain't gonna lie. I got a thing going on with another man. I really like him, this, that, and the third. And so they'll basically admit their adultery or fornication, whatever. Okay? And they just say, you know, if my husband asks you anything about, did you see anything about another man coming, anything, can you not say nothing? I mean, I'll give you money. Don't go along with that foolishness, that lady husband come to you, you ain't gonna get involved in it now. But that husband come to you, hey, has another man been coming around my house when I've been leaving? You tell that husband, hell yes. Don't lie to him. Tell him, yes. You can't lie. You seen it? Tell him, yes. Israel got that stupid thing about snitching. That is so stupid. No, I see evil, I'm telling it. Because that's loving my brother and my sister. I don't want to see my brother and sister get hurt because I didn't decide to tell them, okay? But anyway, let's keep going, guys. And I ain't got a lot of time left. I got about 30 minutes before my camera cut off, okay? So I got to get into this. So back at Exodus 23, and I'm going to read verses 9 through 13, and it says, no, I got to read verse 9 through 13, yeah. Also, thou shalt not oppress what a stranger, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing that you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I mean, you ain't going to oppress a stranger. Why? Because you know how a stranger thinks. You know, they're in the land whose customs they may not know. They're not familiar with the people. They don't know where things are. And, you know, you get a little nervous. You get a little, you know, jittery. You know, you're afraid someone may take advantage of you because, you know, you're not at your homeland. You in someone else's house. So you're afraid somebody may take advantage of you. The Lord says, so, hey, if you know how it feels, don't do that to someone else. That's common sense. Now, verse 10 through 13, and it says, so these are laws about the Sabbath, okay? Lord says, in 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof, okay? He says, but in the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still. And you know, in the 6th year, the Lord gave our people double. He said, in the 7th year, you're going to let that land rest. Because think about it, you've been poking, prodding, you know, digging the land. You damaging the land when you do those things. So it needs time to recover. Okay, Babylon don't do that with their fields. That's why they got to put GMOs, doing all of this stuff, because they just damaging the land and they're still trying to get the land to reproduce. The land needs to restore itself, heal itself. But he says, but when you let this land rest in the 7th year, you're going to let it rest. Why? So that the poor of thy people may eat. And what they leave the beast of the field shall eat. See, because you're not gonna sow in that 7th year. But just because you sow doesn't mean that stuff still ain't gonna be growing. So Lord said, hey, whatever does grow in the 7th year, you're gonna let the poor of your people eat that, and whatever they don't eat, the beast of the field, they're gonna eat that. Lord says, in like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard and with thy olive yard. So Lord, like same concept. 12. 6 days shalt thou do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest. Okay, this is not optional. Says that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be what? This is very important. May be refreshed. And that's why you see a lot of people sick today. Sometimes it ain't got nothing to do with the things that they're eating. Sometimes too, it's just because, not sometimes, but it usually be because they're not keeping the Sabbath. They're running all week long, Monday through Friday. They killing themselves, running errands, working, taking care of children, doing all of this stuff. Okay, and they don't have a day where they could just sit down, not worry about the world, job, none of that stuff. But even on the 7th day, you see what you see me do, ripping and running. That's why, like, for instance, Monday. When Monday come, all I hear is my coworker say, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, man, I got a headache. Oh, I'm this, that, and the third. Because they haven't rested. They stay ripping and running. God created the Sabbath for man. He know what we need. He made our bodies. Okay? We need to rest. We need to slow down. We need a day where we press on the brakes and say, okay, put everything down. Let's just worry about God today and resting. Verse 13. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of what the names of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. Because he know Israel. He know them. They be into some folly. Because he don't even want the seed of another god being planted in our ancestors' mind right here. Yeah, man, you know about Molech. God said, ain't none of that stuff right there. Because the next thing you do is you're going to inquire about it. How do you serve them and all that? Next thing you know, you're going to be serving Molech. Now, we're going to read verses 14 through 19. And it says, 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. So there are 3 feasts. You got unleavened bread, which is the feast of, you got unleavened bread, you got the Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost, okay? And then you have the Feast of Tabernacles. God deems those to be the 3 feasts, all right? Now, let's keep reading. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed of the month what? Abib, for in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. That's right. 16. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. 17. 3 times in the year, all thy males shall appear before the Lord God. So they're going to appear before the Lord God in them 3 feasts. And you can find them 3 feasts in Deuteronomy 16 and 16, 18. And it says, thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. Verse 19. The first of the first fruits of thy land shalt thou bring into the house of the Lord thy God. And remember, you cannot fool God either. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. That's right. You got to be with his mother for at least 7 days. And then on the 8th day, it'll be eligible for sacrifice. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and finish off the rest of this chapter, guys. Exodus 23. Now I'm going to read verses 20 through 33. And this is God's promise to Israel about protecting them. Verse 20. And he says, behold, I send an angel before thee. So he said, Israel, I'm going to send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. But I thought it was Moses and Joshua that brought them into the place which, no, it's this angel. Okay, it's this angel that's protecting them, seeing to it that they get to where they need to go unscathed. 21. But however, the Lord said, nah, this angel gonna protect you and he gonna bring you into the land, right? But it's gonna come by way of this angel leading Joshua, because that's who's gonna end up leading the children of Israel. But he did say this, you know, he gonna protect you now. 21. Lord says, beware of him and obey his voice. Because remember, this angel is in God's stead. That's why he said, obey his voice and do all that what I speak. So even though this angel is present, remember, this angel is actually on my behalf. So obeying him means obeying me as God. Says, if you obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies. Okay, so you have to be obedient to God. If you want God to be an enemy to your enemy, you have to be obedient. And an adversary unto thine adversaries. For mine angel shall go before thee, and bring thee in unto the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Jebusites. And the Canaanites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And I will cut them off. So the Lord said he would cut them off. Okay. And remember, The Lord, he was simply waiting up for them Canaanites in the land. He was waiting on their sin cup to fill up. And once they sin cup filled up, the Lord timed it with Israel's deliverance, because he going to get ready to cut them off for all that evil they was doing in the land, and bringing Israel now into the land which he finna kick them out of. 24. Now here go the Lord now. This is part of the obedience. He says, thou shalt not bow down, what? To their gods, nor serve them, because that's what's getting them kicked out anyway, nor do after their works, because again, that's what's getting them Canaanites and stuff kicked out. But thou shalt utterly overthrow them, and quite break down their images. So you're not going to look at these statues and these altars and all stuff. You're not going to look at it and be amazed and like, wow, I wonder how they did. You ain't going to wonder nothing. You're going to utterly destroy all of this stuff. 25. And ye shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless thy bread. You going to bless it? Your king going to bless it? The Levitical priest, they going to bless it? No, God going to bless your bread. He going to make sure you got enough. And what? Thy water. And I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. Oh, so God is in charge of your health as well. Now you see why a lot of these Israelites be sick. Yeah, I mean, people ain't eating right and stuff too, and stuff. But a lot of that stuff be spiritual. A lot of these health problems, that stuff be spiritual, man. But we don't see it that way. 26. There shall nothing cast their young, nor be barren in thy land. The number of thy days I will fulfill. Gonna live a nice, clean, healthy, prosperous life. No infertility, nothing. 27. Let you know that stuff be a curse. 27. I will send my fear before thee. Okay, meaning to your enemies, and will destroy all the people to whom thou shalt come. And I will make all thine enemies to turn their backs unto thee. So you ain't going to make your enemies turn their back to you. I am. That's how it works. And that's all of the nations. Whenever they make a enemy take flight or run away, it ain't because they're so mighty and so powerful. No, it's because God calls that. It's because he calls it. And the Lord, it ain't no different right here with the children of Israel. He said, I'm going to make your enemies to turn their backs unto thee. For me, whether it's been out in public, whether it's been in the workforce, all my enemies that came up against me, they did what? They turned the back. God gave them the boot. Get out of my servant way. And I what? Marched on forward into prosperity. 28. And I will send hornets before thee, which shall drive out. Them hornets sting your behind up. I will send, it be a lot of them too. I will send hornets before thee, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before thee. 29. I will not drive them out from before thee in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against thee. Because remember, when the land is full of people, you know, you don't really see a lot of animals and stuff come out. But whenever a land is like, you know, empty or something like that, you notice a lot of animals come on the land. They start breeding and all of that. So the Lord was like, you know, I'm going to drive my little by little. So once I drive a certain portion out, I'm going to make you move in. Then I'm going to drive the next portion out. Then you're going to move in there. That's how the Lord is going to do it. To keep lions and leopards and cheetahs from multiplying and destroying the children of Israel. So the Lord is wise. 30. By little, and now it's funny because in verse 29, do you really think the Lord got to do that? I ain't going to drive them all out by once. No, Lord ain't got to do that. The Lord can simply speak the word to command the beast. Say, don't come in this land. And it don't matter how long or how much land is desolate. They'll never come. But see, this is a natural God that we serve. He like doing things the natural way. And that's what I love about him. That actually really shows his power when he does things the natural way. It's beautiful to watch. 30. By little and little I will drive them out from before thee until thou be what? Increased and what? Inherit the land. 31. And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto what? The river. And I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your land, and thou shalt drive them out before thee. And that little land, that little piece they show y'all on the map, look, man, that's a lie. No, that whole Middle East, as they call it, that's our land right there. Okay. 32. Thou shalt make no covenant with them. So with these people of the lands that I'm driving out, you ain't gonna make no covenants with them, nor their gods. You are to utterly waste them and destroy them. 33. They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee what? Sin against me. For if thou serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto thee. And boy, later in the future, with our ancestors, it sure was a snare to us. And that is it, guys, for Exodus chapter 23. And I will see you in the next video.